Oh, don't mind me. Just eating my fucking pancakes.
Blows up pancakes with mine.
No, not my fucking pancakes! Resident Evil. Oh my god. Requiem. This game is quite something. Let's talk about it. This game is the 9th installment of, well, the Resident Evil series. The Capcom went on a huge fucking revolution of just getting every game in their series except for one for some fucking reason. Don't ask me why. I don't fucking know. They went on this great plan of making every game either a remade version, which are fucking great. Resident Evil 2, one of the best remakes ever made. Resident Evil 4 was also fucking great. 3 was
piece of shit.
That's where we're at right now. Basically, this game slaps. There is a couple of things that I want to talk about. The good, the bad, there's no fucking bad. This game feels amazing. I don't know what it is about Resident Evil series or Capcom in general. They have nailed this. Since the 7th installation, Resident Evil 7, they have reinvented the way you move, the way you interact with objects, the way you know, the way the keys like click in, the way you open the notebooks, you know, the way you look at the items, the way you, it's just so gamey. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like, it is the perfect like video gamey feeling. It has everything. The feeling of this video gamey shit is so good. It is insane, right? Like every little detail, it's just so nice and satisfying to do. And the gunplay, oh my god, don't get me started on the gunplay. The gunplay is fucking amazing. Every time I see that fucking pow, and then a pow, and then a pow, and I just wanna pow. Everyone, I jizz my pants every time I shoot a zombie in the head and they go like, wah. And then you shoot them in the leg and they go, ah, and they, you know, you shoot them in the leg and they start crawling on the ground because you shot off their fucking kneecap and they can't walk anymore. It's so good. It is so good. The attention to detail is amazing. Resident Evil is so good at this. And Capcom nailed it. And they know they nailed it. Ever since 7, they kept the same thing. And it's been like that ever since, and it's been good ever since. It is insane how much of a difference it actually makes to other games. You can tell, horror survival, nobody stands a chance against Resident Evil. The video game feel is just so immaculate. I cannot help but just smile every time I see it, right? Every time I play it, it's just so satisfying. It keeps you in, and you want to play more of it. Which brings me to the next point of this game has like this divide between two different playing styles, and it switches between survival horror and action horror. And that is a very fucking good thing that I didn't think it would work. But goddamn, it was so good. It was so seamless and it just made sense. When you played as Grace, you had small inventory, you know, something that Resident Evil 7 was the first to make, right? You had Resident Evil 7 that had small inventory because you were the prey, right? You were not a fighter. You didn't have experience. You tried to survive. You didn't. It was an inventory management with survival, right? You didn't have enough inventory space to just hoard everything because then it would be too easy. The stakes would be less high, you know, stuff like that. You had limited resources and you had a small inventory, and you were in first person, which makes every game scarier right off the bat. And that is very distinct gameplay of Resident Evil 7. What they did in Resident Evil 8 afterwards, it's even more interesting because they kind of blended it together. They made the first person view of, you know, you playing the game, and then through Ethan again, because in this 7 you were playing as Ethan, and in 8 you're playing as Ethan. When you were in that first person, it's more horror based, you know, you're getting chased, you don't see what's behind you immediately, you don't see more of your surrounding area because you're not in third person. So it's more horror based because you're in first person, but you had an inventory of, you know, an action style horror, you know, action survival instead of action horror instead of survival horror, right? But then midway through the game took that away from you. They gave you the small inventory in that dollhouse manor mansion whatever thing, and you had to play, you know, without your weapons. Everything got stripped from you, and you had to play without with the small inventory. And I think they did a great job at that, but I feel like Resident Evil 9 is even better in that aspect, because I feel like the game just kind of, it's so nice to see the dynamic, right? Obviously you have Grace, she's a woman, frail. She is at FBI, but she's mainly doing desk jobs, right? She's not really a fighter, right? So, and you can see that when you're playing her, the gameplay is horror based, right? Like you cannot really fight the zombies. You cannot make a finisher on them, for example, like Leon does. When you're fighting as her and you stagger the zombies, you can push them on the floor. Predominantly meant to run away or give you some breathing room so you can reload or something like that. But then you switch perspective to third person when you come to Leon, and suddenly the whole world opens up. You stagger enemies, you have finishers, you have a permanent melee weapon, that you have parries, you can parry enemy attacks, you can parry basically any enemy attack in the whole game. And that is so cool, because it gives such a different disparity. It goes from, again, survival horror to action horror. You go from a frail woman to being a Chad fucking Leon, the man, the myth, the legend, the sexy dude that everyone would let him do things to them. He's much more experienced, he's stronger, right? He can wield all of these weapons, right? When you shoot a Requiem with him, it feels normal. It feels like a standard gun, right? Any other gun. But when Grace does it, she nearly breaks her fucking wrists, right? It's so insane. She does this little animation, she screams, she's like in pain from shooting that gun. That's how powerful it is, right? Leon does it just like any other gun. It's so natural to him. And you can see that if you go into Leon's first person perspective, Leon doesn't shake when you're aiming down sights. Meanwhile, Grace does, right? Like Grace has this shake to her aiming because she's just not confident, I guess, in herself. She has gun training, obviously, she's in the FBI, but she's not confident, right? She's not confident. And you can see that she's not confident based on just how she talks. She never looks anyone directly into the eyes, right? She always like kind of punches down, you know, talks like kind of looks at the ground and talks in like this very shaky voice, you know. It's a very cool power dynamic of like switching between them and just experiencing two different games in one game. It is very, very, very cool. I've talked about the gameplay, but I want to talk about characters. Mainly Grace and Leon, because they're the main characters, and I don't really care about Dr. Gideon and all the other fucking bullshits and blah 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 blah, whatever. At first, I thought that Grace, for some reason, I don't know why, was the child of Ethan and Mia, and then I realized that that's completely fucking wrong. So let's talk about Grace, right? Grace is a new character in the Resident Evil series, and I think she is a very good addition to it. I feel like her character is very cool, it's very different than most protagonists, right? Even Ethan, that wasn't a fighter in his first game, in Resident Evil 7, he was kind of shit, frail, you know. He wasn't a fighter, obviously. He wasn't an experienced man with a gun or anything. But in Resident Evil 8, you could tell that changed. Ethan had clear goals, he knew what was at stake, his daughter, and he went over and beyond for that, and he didn't care, and he was extremely dominant, I guess, in Resident Evil 8, even though he's still not a trained soldier or a fighter or a police officer or whatever like that. He is still a very determined man that became better, and you can tell that he became a lot better at handling weapons and guns and everything in Resident Evil 8 compared to 7. Mainly, the inventory changed, which means, you know, he went from being a hunted to kind of, sort of, half hunter, you know. He became the one that hunts people. He went from survival to action horror. And when you play as Leon, even in Resident Evil 2 and 4, it was always action horror, right? It was never survival horror, because he's experienced. It makes sense. It's a third-person camera. And it shows, because later in Resident Evil 8, they added an option to permanently play third-person view for Ethan, meaning that he did go from survival to action horror. And that was a really cool thing as well, because it really shows the correct dynamic of how characters progress through the story. So maybe if Grace ever comes back in any Resident Evil, which she probably will, at least in some smaller aspect, she will probably go through the same thing. She will become better at shooting guns. She might get a shotgun next time, she might get something else next time, and then eventually she might even get the big inventory and the third person as the original intended gameplay. Now let's talk about Leon, our daddy. I mean, the man, the myth, the legend, the 51-year-old. I think he's 51. I've seen people say that he's 51. Either way, he's old now. It was like, I think it's 28 years after the bombing this happens. So if he was in his 20s or like late 20s, he's definitely 50 now. And goddamn, Leon is still a character. I can say that much. Leon is one of a kind. It comes to any game. Leon is a one-of-a-kind character. He is the one-liner, right? He is the one-liner dude. He makes stupid shit. He does stupid shit. He says stupid shit, and no one's clowning him for it. And I think that's a unique thing to Leon that will never happen to anyone ever again in Resident Evil. I highly doubt it myself. There is nobody that could say,
"Where's everyone going? Bingo?"
And the internet wouldn't clown Capcom for doing that joke. Leon is the only one who could actually do something like that and not get clowned for it. And that brings me to the next point, his one-liners.
I thought I had a short fuse.
There's so many. There's so many. I hope someone kept count. I don't know how many there are, but there's definitely over like 30. There are so many one-liners in Resident Evil Requiem. Every time he kills someone, every time he gets away, every time he talks back, there's like a one-liner somewhere. It is so fucking good. It just suits his character to constantly, you know, poke the bear, constantly be like this nonchalant dude that just kind of makes jokes to himself and laughs at his own jokes. You know, that's so Leon. That is so Leon. And obviously, now he grew a beard, his voice deepened, and he became a dad. I'm not gay, right? I'm not gay, but the things I would let this man do to me. You're wet, I'm wet, we could be wet together. So how is the story? This is a spoiler-free version. The story is simple. Every simple story can be very good, right? It just needs to be written well. And this one is. This is just a simple save Grace story for Leon, and for Grace it is escape, and for both of them it's kind of stop the whole virus thing. So I'm not gonna get into the spoilers of it, but the way they concluded it, the way the ending was made, the ending itself, I feel is amazing. It is really, really, really good, and I highly recommend you play this game. I like how the story is different, but the same for both characters. For Grace, it's always escape, 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 and then for Leon, it's always destroy, 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 destroy Elpis. That's not a spoiler because you don't know what Elpis is if you haven't played the game or watched anyone play it. Basically, getting rid of T-Virus, the original infection that destroyed the Raccoon City. The story is phenomenal. The story also has a very, very good conclusion. There are two endings, the bad one, obvious bad one, and then a good one. And that the good one is the true ending. And you can tell it's the true ending by the credits, the music, the extra scenes, and even an extra boss fight that you fight at the end, which you don't get if you choose the bad ending. You just kind of leave and their credits just play. Ending is super weird and anticlimactic. It just feels off. And what I like is I picked the bad ending at the beginning, thinking I was doing the correct option. I got the ending. I was like, what the fuck was that? And then right after I finished the game prompted me to go back and see the other ending, which I really like. I didn't have to reload a save. I didn't have to do anything like that. I didn't have to play through the whole game again, God forbid, just to experience the other ending. I just kind of... the game just prompted me to go back, and I went back to the decision, and I chose a different one, and then I realized that, oh, that was the actual true ending, and I was just being a dumbass for not picking the correct option. I didn't get the context clues, so the last half an hour of the game, pay attention to the notes and other stuff so that you make the correct option. I'm not gonna tell you which option is the correct one if you have not played the game yet, but you probably did, or you watched someone play it already. But it's a spoiler-free one, so in general, I think the story is quite good. It serves its purpose, and every time Leon is on screen, I'm happy, so we're all happy. The world is, dare I say, phenomenal. You have the first main area that you spend a lot of your time in, and that area is hospital thing, whatever it is. And I feel like that's a really, really good comparison to Resident Evil 2 and the police station, because 1/3 at least of your time you spend there, and it's really good. You go through it with Grace, and then you come back with Leon before you go back to Grace, going down into the basement below because she needs to save somebody. She goes down into the basement, and from the first point, which was already a great main set piece kind of play area that you were playing at, the hospital, you go to the lower area afterwards, which is also cool and scary because you're playing as Grace, and then you go back up, and then you go out, and then you finally escape, and then after you finally escape with Grace, you get into a different part of the map, which leads you again somewhere underground, and then after all of that, you escape into a small section, playing there for like maybe half an hour if you really take your time. And that's where you defeat one of the main bosses in the game, while also progressing the story in a different way. And then you play as Leon. You go from playing mainly as Grace, because you only play a few parts as Leon for not a long time between Grace and Leon when you switch. And then you play as Leon for the next like 2 hours or 3 hours. You play as Leon in Raccoon City. You go back to the Raccoon City. I'm not gonna spoil why you go back, but you go back to the Raccoon City, and I just love the world of it. When they show this like open wide shot of Raccoon City being destroyed with the giant crater of the nuke and everything, and the buildings like half disheveled, you know, leaning on each other or broken apart, it just makes me feel so good. I don't know why, I just feel so good watching that. It is so good to just look at it. It's so satisfying. I don't know what it is. It's like this post-apocalyptic mentality, right? The world's gone to shit. It's just the Raccoon City, but the city has gone to complete shit. Everything is destroyed or like half destroyed, and it just looks stellar. Chef's fucking kiss. It looks amazing. So you go with Leon, and you progress through the Raccoon City to the edge of the explosion, to the edge of the crater of the explosion. Not gonna tell you why, but it is a very cool gameplay with even new enemies introduced when you're playing as Leon, and this very cool game mechanic of like upgrading your weapons and stuff like that, and having like zombie kill tracker and stuff like that, which is really cool. I really like it personally. Also, the graphics. Oh my fucking god, the graphics are so good. you could take a screenshot of literally any space anywhere in the game, blur it a little, and just put it on Facebook, and boomers all over Facebook would think that that is real life. Like, you could take a picture of Raccoon City, the destroyed one, blur it a little, put some chromatic aberration on that shit, put it on Facebook, and people would think that that actually happened in real life. The game is so beautiful. The atmosphere, the lighting, it is so good. Obviously, ray tracing is a thing now, but the game just visually is so amazing. It is beyond, like, even something like, I don't know, Cyberpunk or something, right? It is so good. The graphic fidelity and the way the light interacts, it is so much better than something like Unreal Engine, for example. It has this character, right? Even, I mean, Resident Evil 2 and 4 were good, and like 8 and 7 were also amazing, but 9 feels different. Like, it feels like an upgrade. Another one, another upgrade to graphical fidelity, and it's really fucking nice. It is so good. Everyone's gushing about it. There's basically no lag or stuttering in the game, so the game is polished.
Oh, princess, why don't you answer my Discord calls?
I would definitely say go play the game, right? It's a must play. If you're a fan or just wanna experience the game, definitely go play. It feels way different if you play it or just watch it, and you have to experience it. It is really good. If you're a fan of horror or like survival horror, action horror, a mix of both, which this game has, you definitely should go and play it right now if you can. It is expensive, but it has a lot of replay value with additional content and even a higher difficulty mode, which I tried, and no, I'm not gonna complete that. Holy shit, every zombie turns into this, there's this game mechanic. If you kill a zombie, it has a chance to later resurrect and turn into like this blob thing. Their head like gets engulfed with something, and then you have to execute them. With Leon, you can't even kill them with Grace, I'm pretty sure, because their heads can't explode anymore. After you beat the main game, you can go in insanity difficulty, and every single zombie turns into that if their head doesn't explode. So good luck. The game takes roughly between 8 to 10, 11, even 12 hours if you really take your time. That's the main story for the first time. You're probably gonna be completing those main stories if you want to go through them again and skip the cutscenes and stuff like that. You're probably gonna be completing them in like, I don't know, 6, maybe 5 hours. So if I had to give a rating, the game, I don't know how to rate games like this, because would I rate it a 10? I mean, almost definitely. I would say that this game is a 10 out of 10. I would give it a 10 out of 10 rating, but compared to what, right? Every game has its own like rating, and should have, right? This kind of falls into like this horror, survival, action, a mix of all that. And in that aspect, it's definitely a 10 out of 10, right? It is a 10 out of 10 game. When it comes to gameplay, story, mechanics, world, everything, it's just great. It is just fantastic. In the category that it's in and is supposed to be, this game is definitely a 10 out of 10. And it's one of the top games that will come out this year, for sure. If not the top game that will come out this year. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know if you want to see more. This is kind of a little different video. I have a peak that I'm working on that I'm gonna soon release. But yeah, that's it. Goodbye.
I would let Leon lick the schmegma off my dick.